All right. We are live. We're waiting for Mr. Chris Waters to join us, waiting for a few more people to trickle in here. Oh yes, they're starting to trickle in. This is perfect. So we are good.
Chris just texted me, said the power went out in his building. Of course.
All right.
But he's going to get on with his phone, he said.
Perfect.
So that sounds like we're going to be on a boat, like,
That's hilarious.
It is awesome.
Anyway.
Perfect. Well, I want to welcome everybody who is here yet. I know more people are joining in. First and foremost, introduce myself. My name is Tyler Jordison. I'm the head of direct sales here at Structurally. Been doing this for a couple of years now. I've talked to hundreds to thousands of agents. I get a really good look at kind of how everybody sets up their teams, which is really cool. And then we got a panel of awesome people joining us today. Mr. Chris Waters, Scott Sillari, and Greg Fowler. Chris will be joining us here in a second, but before he gets there, Scott, why don't you, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah. Thanks, Tyler. Awesome. Great to be here. Very excited. So I'm head director of sales and marketing at RealSync. Our company is a middleware integration platform. So the easy way to think about it is we are the bridges between applications that you're using within the real estate space. So our job is to help people automate their systems so that their team can be more productive and profitable. If you step back, my experience in real estate, I've been working with real estate agents, teams, brokers for about 8 years now. I was working with a company called Viral Marketing for a long time as one of the executives there. And so my experience is just understanding the workflow and the way teams work and realtors work and being able to work with them to help them make the best decisions for their business. With all the different tools that they have at hand, again, going back to so that they can be successful with the goals they have for their business, their team, with productivity, profitability, and growing and all the different things that have to go into that. So that's kind of my background. Like you, Tyler, I've spoke with thousands and thousands of agents over the phone, on consults, or at events up until obviously this past year, but previous to that, traveling around the country and going to events. So very excited to just to be here with you guys and to give some knowledge about the tools that they have at hand here that we're going to be talking about so they can make better decisions.
Yeah, no, and we appreciate having you here. Next up, I saw Chris joined us, but we'll let him get situated. Mr. Greg Fowler, same question to you. Who are you? What do you do?
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. And, this is a wonderful opportunity to be among some great professionals here on this panel. And I know we're all going to be able to drop a ton of knowledge today. So you're all in the right place who's tuning into this, whether it's live stream or after the fact. But I am the founder of Lion Bolt Media, and we help real estate professionals grow wildly successful businesses with leading edge digital marketing. Been in this space for inside real estate for well over a decade, trained thousands of real estate professionals across the United States, been blessed to speak on some of the largest stages and work with some of the biggest and baddest teams when it comes down to production. So it's all about growth and leveraging and automation and the right tools and systems. So we're all going to be covering all that today. So I'm super excited about it and just, again, honored to be here.
Awesome. And then last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Chris Waters. Chris, are you there? We got you.
Chris, can you unmute yourself? Oh, he's connecting again.
There's two Chris's. Two are better than one. He's working on it.
He's working on it. There we go.
Sorry, what are the chances the power goes out in my building as I'm logging in to get on here?
No worries. Appreciate having us. I'm
down in Austin, Texas. I don't know if you guys heard, we made the national news because the power grid went out across the entire state of Texas. We had we call it Snowmageddon, which is very unusual down here. And I don't know, this is just a weird fluke, I guess, my office building. But anyways, yeah, super. I don't know if is it my turn to do an
It's
intro?
your turn. It's your turn. Who are you?
Yeah, so I started a real estate team down here in Austin, and started an independent brokerage back in 2010. Scaled it really fast. We got to about 100 million in annually in sales in about 3 years, and started expanding in other markets. And now we're in 17 different markets. And my passion is helping other agents that are trying to build sustainable businesses and get them in a position to think more like CEOs. There's these tiny little, pivots you can make in your business that can open up really big doors. And so that's my biggest passion right now. Is I have a nonprofit I teach this class called CEO Masterclass. And then I wrote a book called The $1 Million Real Estate Team. Again, don't do any of this for the money, give all the money away. But it's just my way to contribute and give back to the industry to help people scale their businesses and actually own a business and not own a job.
That's right.
So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. And appreciate having you. Honestly, all you guys, it definitely means a lot joining here. So kind of like we said from the jump, we're going to talk a little bit about automation, talk a little bit about BoomTown, throwing it all together so we can kind of kick it off right now with kind of the first concept I want to touch on. So I'll pass it to these guys here in a second, but just a little explainer. So this philosophy of main system of work. So this is super, super important. And kind of what a main system of work is, kind of the definition you can think of is a product that you use regularly that you have to log into to perform your job. So an example for a programmer might be GitHub, right? A programmer has to go into GitHub to do their job. Customer service reps, it might be Zendesk. Students who need to get their assignments, it might be Infinite Campus. Well, for real estate, it's most often the CRM. That's why it's so important. It's just the tool that's connecting all these different things. On the screen here, you can see, you've got your lead gen, you've got, whatever sort of transaction coordination. So the CRM, for the most part, is the real estate agent's main system of work. Kind of getting that out right in the, the start here. So my question to the panel, what is kind of your guys' experience with, when your team or your agent is trying to juggle multiple logins? I have to log into this, that, and the other thing. I have data over here and I have data over there. What has kind of been the result of that? So anybody can jump in.
Yeah, so I mean, for years, what we had to do is we had these virtual assistants based out of the Philippines, and basically they were just like copying and pasting data all day, trying to get all the like lead data, pushed into our CRM. And then there was a lot of double data entry when it came from like lead management to transaction management. And what we've added recently, in the last like 2 years, is we started adding these integration tools. The one we use the most, probably the most powerful one, is RealSync. And so we have a number of different lead generation systems that are pushing leads into BoomTown for us. And so basically it not only pushes the lead record, like first name, last name, and email, it also pushes the activity records. And what I mean by that is it's like, let's say, for example, they go back to one of these third-party lead gen systems like Ylopo or there's a plethora, like we have a signed call capture system. When the consumer goes back to one of those systems and like revisits the site or takes some action, that activity gets saved inside the notes of the lead record in BoomTown. And then we've got RealSync set up to where it creates a trigger and it creates a to-do task. It sends a notification to the agent saying, hey, this consumer just engaged on whatever platform, you need to give them a call. And so that's probably one of the most shocking things from my perspective was we did I don't know if you got a copy of this, Scott, but I've got a screenshot of like before and after, like hooking up my systems using integration, and my lead flow for example, from Waialopo to BoomTown went up over 300%. So like literally the number of leads being pushed into BoomTown went up over 300%. And my signed call capture system voice pad, my lead volume went up over 400% in 1 month. And I didn't spend any extra money. And it all was because when I kind of went down the rabbit hole to figure out why was this going on, a lot of leads, maybe it was a bad phone number, but hey, we got a good email. The agent didn't want to like copy and paste that manually into the CRM. And so what sucks about that from, my perspective, because I'm the one paying for the leads, is, I want to squeeze as much juice as I can out of those leads. And I know that we can set up email marketing, like whether it's, sending them properties or some kind of drip email to try to, get them to engage and get their phone number to call them. And the agents, they don't really think like that. And so that's why we were missing on like a crazy number of opportunities to add to our database for like follow-up, digital marketing. So that's how I have mine set up, is primarily everything is connected via RealSync, like structurally, for example, Sisu, the BI reporting tool, to track our numbers. That's all set up through RealSync as well.
Yeah, and that's perfect. We're definitely going to unpack a ton of that stuff, but that is great background. I don't know if Scott, Greg, you guys have anything to add? Hit the nail on the head. What do you guys think?
I was trying to share the post on Facebook, so I was distracted. What was the question? I'm happy to answer it. I know Chris answered it quite well.
No, Chris nailed it. It was
okay.
Yeah. So no, that's perfect. And honestly, Chris, you brought up BoomTown, which is great because that's what we're talking about today. So we're going to start, easy wins, how to automate some real tangible things you can do actually in BoomTown. Now, if you're not a BoomTown user, don't worry. Don't, click off right away. We are going to be talking about BoomTown, but some of these same techniques like RealSync, some of these automation tools, they're not BoomTown specific. They can be for your CRM. So keep that in mind while we go through here. But we are going to be, the examples you see later on, actually Scott will share his screen and he's going to set some of this stuff up to show you how easy it is. It's going to be regarding BoomTown.
Yep.
So kind of just lay of the land. Like I said, really tangible things right off the start here. Easy wins that you can do today, tomorrow, next week. High level, it's going to be, how do you get these structurally conversations in BoomTown? What is this BoomTown CBX thing? How do I get old leads going? All of this stuff we're going to touch on. What automation tool you need? Is it RealSync? Is it structurally? Is it this, that, or the other thing? So we'll touch on all that and get all these guys' feedback here in a second. They're the experts, obviously. But before we get there, I do want to, kind of pause, take a step back. If you have never heard of structurally or RealSync, you don't know anything about us, I'll kind of give the structurally quick and dirty, and then I'll, let Scott kind of explain. Actually, I think, Chris did a good job already, but Scott can jump in and explain what RealSync is. So if you've never heard of structurally essentially is going to be a conversational AI company. So we have two-way conversations with your leads to qualify and nurture them. How this is different than what like an autoresponder would be for like most CRMs have an autoresponder. BoomTown has an autoresponder. Lead comes in, they get an automatic email and text. That's great. That's kind of level one. And then when the lead responds, it falls on the agent or the team to drop everything and respond right away or risk losing that lead. So we take it a step further, structurally automates all that out. When a lead responds, structurally has the two-way conversations. How many beds? How many baths? What's your price range? All of that good stuff, essentially to turn those high-hanging fruit into low-hanging fruit that your agents can act on. So that's, quick background. That's what structurally is. So when we talk about structurally later in this webinar, that's kind of what we're talking about.
Tyler, let me ask you a question.
Please.
Because I know one of the things that probably I'm sure Greg's run across, and I know Chris would ask as well, is like, if I'm getting this interaction with this bot, like, am I going to know that it's a bot? Or like, how high does my IQ have to be to know that this is a bot is my question, right? Like, am I have to be a genius to identify it, or am I going to get questions and responses and interaction where as a consumer, I feel like I'm talking to somebody?
That's an amazing question, actually. So kind of the way we always want to kind of structurally, we always want to present ourselves as a real human assistant on your team. So ideally, no, the lead doesn't know they're talking to a bot. They're talking to an assistant on your team. Some of the ways we do that is we're constantly injecting empathy. So throughout the conversation, if the lead says something like, I'm going through a divorce, or I'm retiring, or I'm a veteran, that stuff comes up a ton in top of funnel nurturing. So we're picking up on all that. We're saying, hey, congrats on your retirement. We use emojis from time to time. And then I would say, beyond that, the single biggest thing to not look like a bot is going to be when the lead says, when we ask a question, we say, how many beds are you looking for? And they say, oh yeah, well, 4 bed, 3 bath, 2,000 square feet with a pool. Well, our next question isn't how many baths do you want, right? We're picking up on all of that data. It's all coming in. It's not like a, whatever old school chat bot. So that's going to be kind of really the differentiator is like knowing that we're picking up on all of this.
Or if they like go into left field and just say something really, really random, the bot's able to kind of pick up on that and address what they just said, right?
Yeah. Oh, spot on. Yeah. We're kind of like a ATV vehicle. Instead of like a train going down a track, we can swerve a little bit and get this lead back on track so we don't lose any. We can squeeze as much potential out of those leads as possible. But yeah. That's
awesome. Well, hey, instead of me explaining again what RealSync is, what I'd like to do is ask Greg. Greg is a great example because as Greg explained, he works with a lot of teams and helps them with their businesses as from his line bowl business. Greg's been in it from both sides, kind of like setting up RealSync, but also working with the team to cultivate leads using RealSync through structurally. So Greg, maybe you can explain how for you, like how this process has gone for you and the teams that you're working with.
Sure. And thanks for injecting that, Scott. I appreciate it. And I wanted to echo what Tyler was talking about right off the bat through just the automatic chat and the AI that's in there. Super intuitive. Never had any issues with people addressing that it's a bot or somebody fake. It's very smooth in transition. And again, it's for immediate response, but then also long-term communication and nurture to ultimately help conversion. So absolutely love it. I'm a big fan for anybody out there who's listening that way. If you're an individual producer or a large team, either way. But to Scott's point in there, I mean, I've been very fortunate to see it from several different sides and angles, and there's a lot of different, bridges or integrations that you can add to your business to help things go smoother. And, when it comes to RealSync, the hands-on nature, I think is fantastic. And, anytime that you can make a process smoother, faster, easier, ultimately it's going to help conversions. It's going to help, the team really understand what's going on and ultimately bring in more revenue. So, I think from that standpoint, Chris had mentioned a lot of great things, obviously through integrations that way, but there's a time and a place for the right integration, depending on who you are and what you're accomplishing or trying to accomplish. And I find that there isn't a one size fits all. So I think that to address to anybody who's watching, this live or after the fact, look at your business currently and, are there certain areas where you could fill the gaps, make things smoother, make things faster, really help that production for your team. I mean, structurally and RealSync are really going to get that done in a big way. So I don't know if that helped at all, Scott, or that's kind of.
Yeah, totally, man. So like, we're an automation tool, right? So like we have a direct partnership here with Structurally to automate, obviously the lead flow from BoomTown into Structurally so that the bot can do what it's supposed to do. Then we can get those chats back and we'll talk about how that works. But yeah, I mean, RealSync, we build a ton of integrations with a lot of different systems and applications in real estate. That being said, we also provide services to help you set up other integrations. So that's one of the newer things we just started doing. But, if we find that the best situation for you is to use Zapier or to use API Nation or to use PieSync or some of these other integration tools, now we actually have a service side where we'll go in and set up those things for you as well. So it's more of like an all-in-one type situation where we can automate and help you build out your tech stack, right? And to make sure that you're productive. And again, productive and profitability is what we talk about all the time, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, to help automate those things, because a lot of times as a team owner, and Chris can attest to this, if he hadn't gone down the tech rabbit hole, he wouldn't know either. But most team or business owners just aren't sure what they need to be doing or what they can do or what's even available to them, right?
Yeah. Well, and Scott, to your point though, to anybody who's watching this right now, I think that it's important to know that there's some people that aren't super tech savvy, and a few of the things that might have been thrown around already or maybe have gone over your head. So don't feel that you're in a weird spot. I mean, like Scott said, unless if you haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet, some of this stuff is going to be very foreign. So to give very simplistic nature, a lot of these tools that we're talking about are essentially bridges across gaps. So if you have a lead generation service of any kind, and you're wanting to take that contact of that lead and put it into a CRM or transfer it to a round robin scenario to the team or through a Gmail account, any kind of automation as it's considered, that's where, again, RealSync is going to come in. And in communication with Structurally, they're going to be able to touch and nurture and help convert those leads. So just to kind of give you a more simplistic background as to what this all means, if you're not deep into the rabbit hole. If you are, just disregard what I just said. But for the newbies, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. We always talk about all the time how your CRM is kind of your hub, right? And it's like, and when Chris mentioned earlier how his conversion went way up and voice pad, and I do have those slides, but when it went up 400%, it wasn't because, let me rephrase. The main thing that happened was, again, is there's so many leads coming in, is that your agents, like getting them to log into multiple systems to cultivate leads in multiple systems is the last thing you want to do in the world.
Yeah.
You want them to be in the CRM only, and all the leads coming into the CRM automatically so they can be in one place and do one job. I mean, these are salespeople we're talking about, right? They just want to be on the phone or email or communicating and helping get that lead, from whatever status or stage they're at to going under contract when it's right for that lead, right? But they just want to be that person that helps them navigate this process, not having to figure out all these different tools.
Sure.
Right. And Chris, you can probably jump in here and talk about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you basically are eliminating the human element, right? And the thing is like we spend a lot of money on leads, and then like the CRM is really expensive. And so how do we maximize, the return on investment with the leads we're buying? And how do we maximize the CRM? And like the more you can do to eliminate what your agents have to do, so they just spend more time smiling and dialing and converting, deals into appointments, like the more money you're going to make. And so, I think our jobs as team leaders and people that are in a position to help agents succeed, what we got to focus on is how do we help our agents be more efficient with their time? Because like in years past, I'd give, I'd hand out leads like candy, and the conversion rates were incredibly low. And, as from the business perspective, my return on investment was good because of my commission splits and the cost per lead, but my agents weren't having success. Like they were closing 1 to 2 deals a month, and like, it was like decent ROI for us. And like, it was good, but it's like, it's hard to make a living as an agent closing 1 or 2 deals a month. And so if what's cool is like, as a team owner, you can make even more money if you can help your agents succeed at a higher level. And by actually taking stuff off the plate of the agent, and using tech to do it, it's going to help the agent spend time on higher income producing activities. And I mean, we ended up closing, so we did not increase our lead gen budget by a single dollar, and it resulted in a quantifiably like 56 closed transactions as a result of us getting all of the leads going into one hopper.
Beautiful.
I mean, the number of leads we were missing out on, again, you've got agents that don't understand the back end, like setting up drip emails and all that kind of stuff because they're newer to your team or whatever. And so, they get a lead that's maybe, it's got a bad number or whatever, they don't transfer it over. And then the other thing is like, you can't, when these consumers re-engage on these third-party systems, like structurally, for example, like, before RealSync, just to be honest, it was challenging dealing with structurally because, I've got all these agents and, they're having to toggle between structurally and BoomTown. And then they're like stepping on each other's toes, because there's one agent like, responding to another agent's lead. And so once we got that integration between structurally and BoomTown set up, we weren't having to worry about people stepping on each other's toes, and I wasn't having to worry about people even logging into structurally. Like, we literally set up structurally on the back end, and our team on the back end runs it, and the agents just deal with responding to the people that want to be contacted because they got a text from structurally, and the person raised their hand, said, "Hey, I want to go look at this house."
Well, I think what's amazing, sorry to jump in real quick. I think what's amazing about that is, like, we always talk about, like, you want your agents or you want a salesperson talking to a lead that's very warm and ready. Not like, so if Chris is generating hundreds of leads and you're expecting your agents to follow up with them at all different stages, it's incredibly inefficient. That's what makes structurally so great, is structurally does the work, and then your agents are communicating with the lead when it's way further down the funnel and actually potentially ready to do something, or at least ready to have a conversation with an agent about, like, their options, whether it's right away or within a few months or whatever that is. Right. So you're making the agents much more efficient. And then this leads back to what Chris is talking about with your conversion rates start to go up. And, because the agents aren't wasting their time talking to leads that aren't ready, and they're not missing the business then. Right.
Yep. You nailed it.
Yeah. Well, and I want to jump in there too with Scott and Chris, for that matter. When you're talking about, integrations and really saving time for the agent's production, that's really the biggest thing. And I have clients all over the United States and all different size, $100 million, $1 billion production, down to, newer producers. So I've kind of seen it from every angle. And at the end of the day, leads sound great, but no one wants leads. They want appointments. They want closed transactions. So I don't care if you're generating 1,000 leads a month or generating 100 leads a month. What's your conversion? And ultimately, and hopefully no one's feeling this is a plug for RealSync or structurally. But the fact of the matter is that if you're doing any kind of lead generation in that process, you want to try to scrub and nurture and really touch as many of those leads that the team leads paying for, because ultimately when they do get to the ISA or the team around Robin or you as an individual, as Chris and Scott have mentioned, they want to be warm and close and ready to go. And, when a lead comes in, it might be ready to go right then and there. It might be 3 months, 6 months. It might be 2 years down the road. So what systems do you have in place on the back end to touch, communicate, and nurture, and then help convert so that when it does get to a closer, right, you can get it done in a high level? But a part of lead generation, as everybody knows, is pipeline building. So you're bringing leads to build in pipeline, but ultimately just to feed a team with a bunch of leads. But then, as Chris stated, look, if the leads are not ready to go and they're just dialing all day long, trust me when I tell you, I've heard it from every level. Agents don't like having the constant over and over and over rejection. And if you have an ability and an opportunity to take those leads that you're generating and bring them much closer to a decision, your team's going to be happier, you're going to convert more, and there's just going to be so much positive. So again, I can't speak highly enough about setting up that integration with RealSync or structurally in that matter. It doesn't matter how many leads you're generating, to piggyback off of Chris and Scott.
And honestly, kind of from my perspective of talking to so many agents, like Chris stated it exactly how I've heard it 100,000 times. It's, if my agents can't see these conversations in my CRM, it's not going to work. That's why RealSync is so important. Like, just to Chris's point, it's, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, you don't have to toggle between systems. This isn't a new login to remember and write down and put in your dresser. Like, keep BoomTown, and here's all the notes of all the conversations, and do what you do best, which is close deals, go to appointments, all that good stuff. So yeah, 100%.
Love it.
Yeah. So Chris, let me ask you this: how many leads do you prefer an agent to be working at one time?
So I think it's, I always preach you have to have multiple oil wells. So for example, I want them doing open houses, calling their sphere, doing some like community focused extracurricular activities. And then I'm going to hand them between 30 and 50 web leads per month.
Right.
And then I also have, I have some dedicated agents that only go on appointments. And so, the agents that are focused on only going on appointments, they're not lead converting. They're going on roughly 15 to 20 appointments per month per agent. But 30 to 50 web leads, if they are, working inbound leads.
Yeah.
So we also have phone shifts, right? Inbound phone shift when people call in.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting is like when you think about leads in general, it's like, okay, that agent working those 30 to 50 web leads that you're talking about, if those have been already kind of cultivated or nurtured a little bit by the bot, right? And the quality of those leads is so much better. They're going to convert so many more of those compared to like if it's just brand new registrations, 30 to 50 of them that have had no interaction with structurally or to find out where they are, then that's wasting a lot of the agent's time, right? So I think it's very interesting, with Chris having these systems in place. I'm sure the quality of those leads that the agents are actually working from the web are much higher quality or people that are ready to actually communicate, right, Chris?
Yeah, well, and where I saw the big game changer was when I did hire an inside sales rep, and we were leveraging the AI tech. My inside sales rep is on the phone all day long. And so the more I can give them a lot of leads, right? And so my inside sales rep, my average inside sales rep is setting between 70 on a bad month, 70 appointments up to, I had one guy set 120 appointments in a month.
Love it.
And they literally could not do that without the automation, the integration. Because I previously, when I had ISAs, they were toggling between systems. There's a complete, they wasted so much time as doing administrative work. And so my productivity of my inside sales reps is like literally gone through the roof. And I'm actually right now, and this isn't really related to this call so much, but I'm like right now literally in the midst of like completely taking away giving agents leads. Cause like, I have so much leverage now with tech. I can make my ISAs like crazy productive. My average ISA is helping contribute like 12 to each ISA is helping contribute 12 to up to 20 closings a month, like per ISA. So like the economies of scale is amazing. And so my buyer agents, I'm not going to hand out leads anymore. Who was it? Somebody, Greg mentioned, agents want appointments. So that's kind of where we're shifting. And then just to give you guys some like context, before I had back in 2014, 2015, I had buyer side inside sales reps, and, we didn't have all these automation tools or integrations or whatever. They're toggling between a lot of systems, a lot of administrative work. The VA virtual assistants were helping us a little bit, but like I literally could not get an inside sales rep to help contribute more than 6 closings a month. That's like the maximum number of closings the inside sales rep would help contribute to the team per ISA. On the buy side was about six closings on average. And since, I got Real Sync, I guess like 2 years ago, structurally about a year ago. And so now my inside sales reps, their productivity has gone through the roof. Instead of 6 closings a month, it's 12, 15, 18, 20. It's game changer, right? Like 300% increase in how effective my ISA reps are. And so that's why like literally as we record this right now, I'm in the midst of like basically phasing out giving leads to agents and just having the ISA set the appointments, because as the number of appointments goes up by the ISA, my cost, like relative to like what that ISA costs to like close a deal, goes down, right? Like as the ISA contributes more revenue as a result of setting appointments, their salary, that cost goes down significantly per transaction. And so, that's economies of scale, right? And so you know, it's really exciting. I'm super excited. By the way, what's cool is like, well, I don't know if it's cool, but like, you know, I feel like we can compete with the juggernauts now, like Zillow and, you know, realtor.com, you know, they have these inside sales teams, and they're also using like some AI tech and stuff like that. And, you know, they want to take a 35% referral fee. And so, you know, for anybody listening to this, probably nobody on here really wants to pay a 35% referral fee. And so you can, you know, you can buy lower quality leads and really drive your client acquisition costs down by leveraging like tools like RealSync and Structurally, for example, because the tech is doing all the heavy lifting for you, identifying the people that are raising their hand, creating that to-do activity for a call for your agent, or your ISA. So they're much more efficient with their time, and you're, you know, spending a fraction of what one of these third-party, you know, portal sites is charging from a referral fee perspective.
Actually, I do want to touch on that because that's huge, because I get this all the time. I don't want to buy these expensive Zillow leads or all of this and blah, blah, blah. Like, the great thing about like Structurally and RealSync is you can go out and get these social leads, which were always low quality leads. But now the low quality leads have such a high ceiling. With automation, you can take them so much further than you could in the past. So you don't have to rely on the Zillows and realtor.coms to feed the funnel. So you nailed it. I like that a lot.
If anybody has a pen and paper, I did some really basic math like 2 years ago. And I looked at like, okay, how many leads do I have to get from Zillow.com to close a deal? And so it was on average 12 to 13 leads. And my cost per lead was anywhere from 200 to 300 bucks. And so you multiply that 200 to 300 times 12 leads, you've got a client acquisition cost of like roughly 2,400 bucks. And so our average gross commission was 10,000. We're on a, you know, 50-50 or 60-40 split with the agent, 60 to the company, 40 to the agent. And so after we paid out the agent and then $2,400 to Zillow, and then subtracted our operating expenses and like the people that help run the team, like we were literally making no money. And so I can go generate 100 leads on Facebook for literally like $500. Yes, only one will close, but those 500 leads only costed me like 700, 800, 900 bucks. So my client acquisition cost, you know, when comparing it to Zillow, like dropped from 2,400 down to 700 to 800 bucks. I mean, that was, you know, it's a 300% drop. And I didn't have to worry about the agents like getting pissed off, being like, oh, Chris provides all these shitty leads, because they didn't even know about the leads until the people raised their hand in the Structurally conversation saying, yeah, I'm interested in looking at this house, or I'm interested in buying, or whatever.
And Chris, I think that's huge insight for anybody who's listening to this, and you're hearing it from an actual practitioner, which I think is absolutely incredible to kind of share that knowledge. And I would echo that. I think that the way the technology has adjusted, the level of competitive nature through some of the bigger players with lead generation and conversion. I mean, anyone can do this, and it doesn't matter what your budget is entail. Because of the social leads. And, you know, strictly, that's all that we do with Lion Bolt across the country is social leads. And as you said, I mean, we're generating hundreds and hundreds of leads for, you know, next to nothing in comparison. But when you have the systems in play for conversion and automation and really having that communication, it's huge. And that's when the agents get involved, which I think makes a difference. And here's the secret sauce. I mean, anybody wants to hear it, this is it. And we've done test upon test upon test. And for conversion rate, you know, Chris had kind of touched on it with the ISA, but the first thing is that third-party integration. So you got to have a third-party integration with RealSync, Structurally, along those lines. You got to have some level of automation through bringing the lead into your CRM, and then conversion through nurture and communication. So that's step one. Step two is really looking at it from an ISA. Now, whether it's a licensed ISA in-house or you can hire outsources ISAs, you know, there's different variations. And I have teams that have 10 ISAs on staff, and I have teams that are virtual ISAs. I mean, it just depends on what your budget is, but start where you start. And then the third portion really ends up being that retargeting. And not a lot of people talk about it, but it is a secret weapon. So, you know, Tyler had mentioned it a little bit earlier as to all the touch points, right? So before the agents even get in front of the lead, there's multiple touch points. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but with retargeting, very specific, you get a lead that comes through, you actually create campaigns associated directly so that every single lead is now seeing your brand all over the internet, right? So whether you're doing in Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or Google, taking those contacts and then retargeting them with brand awareness ads, community awareness ads. That way, when they actually do get to a physical team member or that appointment, it is so much easier to have that conversation. So it's really those three things: third party, ISA, and retargeting. And your conversions are going to go crazy. And you don't need the big companies to do it. You can set this up all on your own.
Yeah.
I think,
Oh,
no,
go ahead,
please.
Tyler.
Oh, I was just going to say, honestly, this conversation's been, great so far. I didn't know if you guys wanted to move over into this BoomTown CBX Gmail extension. What is this? How do you use it? If
And
anybody
one quick thing on the retargeting side, I was kind of like hesitant to do that because it's like, I don't know, I didn't know if it was going to be effective or whatever. But what we found is we found that like the sweet spot is if we allocate roughly like 5 to 10% of our gross budget that we spend on lead gen to retargeting ads, it substantially reduced our cost per lead. So like as a marketer, one of the metrics you're trying to improve is the website visitor to the lead form completion ratio, like that conversion metric. If you can improve that, right, it's going to drive down your cost per lead. If you can get the people that come to your website, the more frequently fill out a lead form. And so what retargeting ads did for us was our cost per lead went down significantly, and it actually far exceeded the 5 to 10% roughly we were spending on the retargeting ads. And so we got a lot more juice out of the people that were actually visiting our website. And I think most people, if you're using almost all of these CRMs, BoomTown, Sierra, they all, give you the ability to do retargeting. So if you guys are not using retargeting, I'd highly encourage it. Like if you're spending, I don't know, if you're spending like $1,000 a month, you probably only need to spend like $100 on retargeting. And it'll more than pay for itself. And if you're spending like $5,000, you probably need to allocate like $250 to $500. But literally we have people like call us and they're like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. Like I have recorded conversations from like dozens and dozens of people that have said like verbatim that they thought God was telling them that they needed to call us. They're like, I'm seeing
awesome.
you everywhere. And I swear God is telling me I need to call you. And I'm like, it's retargeting ads.
It makes a big difference, Chris. You're right. I mean, we call it omnipresence, right? Being everywhere, all simultaneously to the people that matter, and very targeted. You're not just blanketing random areas. I mean, these are people who have seen your website, seen your Facebook page, seen your videos, opted into lead forms, gone through your funnels. I mean, you name it, you can retarget anybody. And especially into the social aspect, because I know a lot of people get kind of hung up on regulations, privacy policies, things like that. There's so many things that you can do to really hone in, and nothing's going to stop you from really having those conversions. So don't get wrapped up in what you hear or see online, or what Apple's doing with Facebook, or, any kind of privacy policy nonsense. I mean, they've tightened everything up since, August of 19. And, it hasn't stopped real estate professionals making, hundreds of millions of dollars, through different ad sets and whatnot. So I love that, Chris. I mean, you're dropping bombs, man. I love it.
Yeah, well, retargeting ads, they've already come into your fold, right? So it's like you've got permission to advertise to them. So
right.
Just to keep it a little bit more simple for everybody out there, right? Yeah, it's just good stuff, man. I love it.
Yeah, no, this has been crazy. This has been great conversation. Yeah, what do we think? What do we think about what's this BoomTown CBX deal?
I can't see it on the screen. Can you pull that up? Did you hit screen share? Did it disappear? Or is that
No,
it's there.
These are just images of it.
Okay.
So the Gmail extension, and Chris can talk to what it's done for his business since he's been using it the last 7-8 months, Chris. But yeah, it's a Gmail extension. You can see it kind of lives in your Gmail, and then it has a lot of functionality. It allows you to do a lot of things that you would do in BoomTown, from adding leads to updating to-dos to tags, notes, changing lead assignment. So it's great for ISAs that need to reassign a lead to an agent. Once they've been working the lead, they can reassign it. Also tracking email and getting into your CRM pretty quickly. So I can obviously show whatever you guys need to show on my side of how the functionality works. But Chris, why don't you speak to like what you've seen it doing for your ISA team and your agents?
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, my intent for getting it and setting it up was like getting my agents to leverage best practices for follow-up was painful. Like it literally felt like herding cats to get people to like implement best practices for lead follow-up. So really simple things like, hey, when you talk to them on the phone and they tell you when they're going to buy and they say it's like less than 90 days, move them to the hot stage. So you know like who's in the hot category. And so I know that I don't want to like, I don't want this to come off like the wrong way, but you know, a lot of people that get into real estate don't have a sales background.
Mm-hmm.
And heck, when I got started, I didn't have a sales background. And so anyways, you know, it's for new agents and even people that have only been in the business a couple of years, it's overwhelming. You know, learning the business of being an agent, plus learning how to use these systems and like sales management and all this stuff. And so like what I found is like a lot of my agents, like they did really good when the lead first came in. So they'd call the lead, you know, set up on an email drip and an e-alert, but then like all hell broke loose afterwards. And like, I didn't, and like, I was, man, it felt like herding cats trying to get the agents to like, remember to set a to-do activity, like changing the lead stage, tagging the lead, recording a note, like all these basic things as they followed up with the lead was like really painful. Like we had this virtual assistant that like helped us like hold the agents accountable, and like we still couldn't get them to do it. You know, like they'd still like drop the ball, you know, because they're out in the field or whatever. Or you know, like let's say for example, they got an email from somebody they were working with, and they said, hey, I like the job promotion went through. I'm actually going to buy a house. And so they didn't, you know, in that moment, they didn't log in to the CRM to, you know, update the lead. And so bottom line is like one of the coolest things that's happened as a result of this email extension for BoomTown is it's like a control panel for BoomTown within Gmail. And so as you know, my agents spend like an exorbitant amount of time in Gmail communicating with clients, and those communications with their clients, you know, indicate major things that are happening. Like, you know, maybe they got a deal under contract and you want to quickly move that lead to pending. Well, the Gmail extension, it sits right there. And whenever you open up that client email, right, it automatically populates that lead record within your Gmail. So like, boom, the lead record's there in your Gmail, change it to pending, maybe add a note, maybe take them off the drip email so you don't look like an idiot sending them, you know, something you're not supposed to. And so like that has really helped out significantly in terms of helping the agents like implement best practices for follow-up. And then probably one of the like the coolest and like something I wasn't expecting that was a really cool unintended result of adding the email extension for BoomTown was I started noticing on my leads dashboard, my number of leads being manually added was going up like went up twofold in the first month. I'm like, why did the number of imported leads go up twofold? And so like, you know, I started asking some of the agents, I'm like, hey, where'd this lead come from? And I like kept doing that over and over. And they're like, oh, it was a friend of mine. They were emailing me to say, what's up? How are you doing? How's real estate going? And they added them to BoomTown. And that never happened. Like I never had agents just like consistently like, you know, adding leads to the system. It was always me paying for the lead, you know, spending 100, 200, 300 bucks to generate a lead. Like that's what was getting out of the CRM. And so now, you know, what I've noticed is like, you know, if they have someone in their sphere that's not in their CRM, you know, the Gmail extension for BoomTown, it pops up and says, hey, this lead's not in your CRM. And the agents are adding it. I'm like, sweet, you know, because like getting the agents to put, you know, people in the CRM was like, you know, just like mission impossible. So anyways.
That's great.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
That was a great explanation. I don't need to say much more. It's awesome. It doesn't just work with BoomTowns. If you're on here again with a different CRM, we're connected to, I believe, 6 CRMs now, which is awesome. And 7th one coming. So it is not, Glenn, I know you asked, it's not available for Outlook right now, but it is in our roadmap. We're hoping to have something available for Outlook, you know, Microsoft 365 Exchange, like that whole thing. Right.
Glenn, you need to switch to Gmail, switch to Google.
Yeah, that's one thing you could do too.
Get out of Outlook, Glenn.
Get out of
Man, I feel like all we're doing is like pitching technology here, but I mean, I guess basically that's what this is all about.
Well, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Automating things so that all these things you're talking about how your conversion's gone up. I mean, it's because you've added all these different tools, right?
I mean, this is basically, you know, trading nickels for dollars, you know, like you're making small investments to maximize, you know, your lead generation budget and the, you know, what you're doing to optimize, you know, the use of your CRM. But to Glenn's point, and I know this isn't what we're really talking about right now, but there's something on, you can get what's called G Suite for business owners, and it's like $5 per user. And it gives your agents, you know, like a good looking email. It's like not at Gmail, it's like at your team name. So it looks more professional. And then there's like this whole ecosystem of tools within G Suite that your team can use and collaborate on and share. And I think it's roughly $5. And then the other thing that, I don't know, there's a bunch of cool things we like. For example, there's something called the Vault. So it like backs up like all the emails. So God forbid something crazy happens and one of your agents gets in a lawsuit, you know, and they like, you know, file a subpoena to like get all the emails. It's saved in the Google Vault. So there's a lot of really cool benefits real estate compliance wise, just, you know, collaboration wise. There's this, what is it called? The G chat feature. Like that's freaking, I love the G chat thing. Like we have a team, like a channel for our team. And like it's communicating, you know, we're communicating daily. Somebody on our team, apparently like before they got into real estate, is this guy, and you would never guess this, but he made, he was like he loved woodworking, and he made these wooden earrings. And so this morning at like 8 a.m., we're like, you know, not making fun of him, but we're like, yeah, I'll buy a pair of those and put them on. And this guy coincidentally had his license expired, and I told him I was going to get it like engraved with his expiration date of his license, because we had, you know, he made us go through all these shenanigans. But anyways,
Nice.
G Suite.
All right, I'm gonna cut you off there, Chris, because I know we got a few more things to get to.
Honestly, no, I think let's maybe skip this. Let's jump into what you have to share, Scott. I think.
So let me show people how how easy it is to set up. So I'll I'll grab the screen share. Oh boy.
I'm sorry, I'm talking so much. I just drank a Bang, so be careful.
Oh, it's all good, Chris. This is good stuff, man.
Sorry about that. Here we go. Wrong page. And here we are. Okay. So, well, first off, if you went to realsync.com, you just would hit get started here. And then you just kind of pick the applications you want to connect in your agents, throw in your info. You're going to then register, put your billing in, right? Come to a dashboard, but it's real simple. You just hit add sync bot, and then you would go, all right, I need to connect structurally to BoomTown. Boom. There's little instructions here. Okay. So it kind of takes you through the process, but what's nice is with structurally, you would generate an API key on our platform. You'd log into your structurally account. So you just hit generate, and then you'd copy it, hit close. There's a couple sets of instructions here, but you'd log in, and then you'd be able to enter in the key here, right? And then on BoomTown's very simple, it just does a OAuth. So you just hit verify on your BoomTown, logs you in, right, as a broker admin, and then you connect it on that side, right? So you just verified, pretty simple. And then you hit next, and you just hit activate, right? Now what's cool is there's a lot of different things that you have the ability to do when the data is coming over into BoomTown from structurally. So there's a lead assignment. You can make that dynamic. You can add your tags. So it's going to pull in all your BoomTown tags, which is awesome. So you can have certain tags enabled to apply automatically once that lead data starts flowing over. You can have contact tags. We don't have any activity ones, but you can have activity tags too. And then tasks. This is awesome. This is huge. Chris obviously uses this. So you can put in like 1 day, right? Or you put in 0 if you want to just add a task. You title the task by default, and it's going to create we call it a task, but it's a to-do for BoomTown, and it creates it in BoomTown. So now you have a to-do assigned to the lead owner of that particular lead that structurally is communicating with, right? And it puts that like on their list, of course, of what to do. And then, so once it's activated, it's on your dashboard, and then you would go and set it up to go the other direction. After you do that, you would go pick BoomTown, and then structurally, of course, because you got to get the lead from BoomTown over into structurally to start chatting, right? So you do the other one first, just to generate that key. You would connect here. You would connect again with the API key. And then you have a couple options here on this side as far as the tag here is automatic. And I'll talk about that in a second. But then also your filters would be, triggers here. I believe you can have it where a new registration automatically goes into structurally, or you can use the upsert tag. And so what that is that any older lead that you want to actually push into structurally, because it's like came alive again, you want the bot start working it, you just apply the tag, or you can have it set up that way. And then all new registrations also going over into structurally, which is super cool. Then you also have a tag.
Amazing way to scrub your database. Use that upsert tag. That's huge. Scrub the database. That's real big.
Yep.
So.
Get the bot chatting with those leads. And then also there's a tag to mute the bot. Once you take over as the ISA or agent, you apply mute homes and it mutes the bot, and allows you to take control. So it's really, man, the automation's amazing. It's really, really simple to use. So, yeah.
And Scott, I want to jump in just for everybody who's on this. It is super easy, but if you run into any snags, I mean, Scott is incredible. I think Mac jumped on too, right? But
yours was a little unique because you were setting up so many accounts for a bunch of different people. So we had to make sure we were doing it right for you.
But the point is to anybody out there, I mean, you can really get this done. If this is, scaring you or overwhelming you, it's a lot easier than it looks. And again, you've got great people at RealSync to make this happen. So don't feel like you got to do this alone. I guess that was my point into that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there anything else you wanted me to show or demo while we were here?
No, I'm good. You nailed it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll kill my screen share.
And then we got what, 3 minutes here.
Yeah.
This conversation's been great, but let's let me reshare here. So at least we got this going. Honestly, I think last thing maybe to take us out before we get to any last questions here is, Greg, when will I know? Like, when is the time right to start adding this stuff? Maybe a quick, shorten it down to a minute or two. When is the time right?
Yeah, and great question when it comes down to it, Tyler. And I have this asked all the time through different sessions, or I'm on stage or on panels, podcasts, whatever. You got to look at your pain points and your plateaus. That's what I always say. Look at your business, because heavy lead generation and conversion and systems and automations, it's not for everybody right off the bat, right? So you need to look at how much organic business have you been able to conduct? What are you utilizing? What tools are currently working? You're going to know when things start to get harder. Revenue's not coming in the door the way that it was before, to the levels in acceleration that it was before. At that point, that's when you need to start adding some of these systems and tools. And not to say that you can't add stuff right off the bat, but I'm a firm believer of not throwing money at the wall and hope it sticks. I mean, there's ways organically that you can make immense amount of traffic and revenue coming in the door as a newer producer individual. And then as revenue comes in, then you reinvest that into the growth of your business. And you do that in your time frame, in your order. So look at your pain points, look at your plateaus, look at where you're at in your career. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 10, right? Chris is along the way. Chris has teams and all these different things that are going on. He's been doing this a long time. So again, of course, he's going to have all these tools and systems and back ends. Some of the teams that I work with, I'm no joke when it comes to $1 billion, $100 million plus producers. They have these things set up in place, but it took them, 10, 15 years plus to get there. It didn't happen overnight. So look at where you're at, but try to leverage and automate as soon as you can. Don't put yourself in a sticky situation, but really try to add and integrate some of this stuff. The earlier, the better. No one ever regretted adding this stuff. And at the end of the day, I think Chris had kind of touched on it a little bit, but you got to look at it to an investment, right? So this is the investment of the growth of your business. If you are paying for a person a system or a piece of tech in some form or fashion, they should be doubling or tripling your investment. If not, it's a bad time or a bad person or a bad system or investment. So you got to look at it that way. It's not a cost, right? You're thinking, if I pay this system or this person or this tech, I should be able to increase my time, which is going to allow me to use my highest and best uses, right? As an individual producer or real estate professional, and then divvy that out, right? Increase your revenue, then hire more out. Increase your revenue again, hire more. That's a growth pattern. So hopefully that answered that question. I mean, we kind of already touched a lot of the stuff that's listed below already, you know, so I don't think we need to go into that into heavy detail, but yeah, hopefully it answers your question.
Can I say one thing real quick to plug
Please.
Chris? If you want to chop off a decade, just hire him and build a franchise with him, because he's gone through the pain and done all this stuff that we're talking about, and he has the system. So if you're a rainmaker and crushing it, but you're just like at that level where you're like afraid or don't know how to quite scale up to like having a huge team and all this stuff, hire Chris, become one of his franchise partners. He's in 17 different markets. He's already gone through the pain of expanding too. So he can do that for you, which is really awesome. So anyway.
Yeah, you know, to Greg's point, Greg brought up something really good. So like, as we were expanding and going into new markets, like tech became a distraction for the new markets. And so, you know, Greg brings up a really good point. Like, it's really important to like recognize where you are in the growth curve. And after we had opened up like a couple teams, I published this book called The $1 Million Real Estate Team. And, you know, what we talk about in the book are the unique phases of the growth curve. And there's certain pieces of tech you need at each phase of the growth curve. And we figured this out from falling on our face and wasting a lot of money and time. And, you know, but what's kind of crazy though, is like, when I think about like the tools we've talked about today, like for example, if I was starting a brand new team, like BoomTown is way too expensive. Like I would not recommend BoomTown. It's way too expensive. I'd recommend like Sierra or Firepoint. They're much more affordable. And they do a lot of the same stuff. But like structurally and RealSync, like, man, I would set that up out of the gate, because like the email extension is because they're cheap. Like BoomTown's $1,500 something a month. Like the email extension is free. Or if you want the upgraded one, it's only $10. And then, you know, structurally is like, you know, pennies on the dollar compared to what you spend on lead gen. So like those, you know, those are things I'd probably set up out of the gate. But not to talk bad about BoomTown, I think BoomTown's great. It's just, it's really expensive when you're getting started. So anyways, I think there's like a limited, you know, number of pieces of tech you need to get going. And you know, we talk about this in the book, like it's just about knowing, you know, which ones you should have and when. You know, it's about doing the right things in the right order. Yeah, that's a great point you brought up, Greg. And you guys can buy this on Amazon, but I have a landing page where you can get it for free. So I'm not trying to like pitch the book. And my the business I have that the book is owned by, and I only teach one thing in real estate. It's called CEO Masterclass. And all of the revenue goes to a nonprofit. So I don't keep a single dollar. All the money is donated. So it's the thing as I said at the very beginning, when we kicked this off, it's the thing I do to try to like give back to the real estate world. And it's the masterclass I teach is called CEO Masterclass. It's a 90-day program. And it's basically to help agents that are in a position where, you know, they're selling 30, 40, 50, 60 homes, and they're working nights and weekends, and they want to figure out how to build, you know, a sustainable business. And, you know, we talk about some of the things we talk about in the book, like the brand ambassador program. By the way, the landing page to get the book for free is the $1,000,000realestateteam.com. I'm sorry, it's $1,000,000realestateteam.com. And of course, if you buy it on Amazon, you can buy it there. It's $20, and all the money goes to it. We don't make any money. It's a nonprofit. So,
very cool.
Anyways,
I mean, honestly, listen, guys, like, get the book. I've read the book. We have the book around the office. Like the book, if you, especially if you're just starting out and you're like, what is structurally, what is BoomTown? You need to get the book. You got to get the book.
Yeah.
Like it'll jumpstart you far past other people who just start as well.
Yeah, I think it's like it's probably a, you know, like it's a good supplement to the book Gary Keller wrote 20 years ago. I think Gary's book is like amazing, and it's, you know, very high level, like principle based, and ours is more of like a practical or tactical guide of like, do this, don't do that, and it's like kind of contingent on where you are in the growth curve. And this is all stuff we figured out from screwing up and wasting a lot of money.
All right, this has been amazing. We went a little over, which is great because the conversation was so good. So any last thoughts from you guys? I really appreciate you guys coming on, but any last thoughts to get us out of here today?
That was good, man.
Yeah, it was great. Go automate.
Go automate. All right, guys. Well, everybody's contact info is on the screen if you had the time to jot it down. We are going to send out the recording. So if you had to leave early, the recording of this will be sent out if you registered, along with the slide deck. So you'll have all the stuff we talked about. And yeah, so if you have any questions, please reach out to RealSync. Please reach out to Greg. Please reach out to Waters. You know, these guys are doing it at a really high level. So other than that, that's it. So I appreciate everybody for joining, and definitely tune in next time. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.